Daedalus' hand was sudden and unexpected on my arm. I jumped, stupidly jerking the steering wheel of the dune buggy. At the speed we were going, the momentum sent us tumbling down into the ditch. My perspective lurched and rolled as we bumped, slid, and then slammed sideways, thrown into the thick, brackish mud. I laid there for a moment, taking stock of my body. The main thing I was feeling was that I was covered entirely in mystery muck. Runoff from the remaining farms, maybe, or even the lithium plant. The sky above me was a turquoise blue, not a single cloud in the sky. I could see silhouettes of turkey vultures circling high overhead. I wasn't sure if they were here for us. You're listening to Tiger and the Viper. I couldn't hear any screaming, so either that was a good sign or a terrible one. Finally, I let out a painful breath and rose to see if Daedalus was all right. She was, of course, perfectly fine, save for the scrape on her forehead. I watched as she circled the overturned buggy, surveying the damage. When she saw me stand, she pulled her bandana down and gave me a long look, likely trying to decide if she wanted to curse me out or just tell me to walk straight into the desert. "Are you okay?" I ventured. "Are you trying to kill me on our first drive out here?" I grimaced. "I'm sorry, I just got startled." Daedalus stretched out her sore back and looked into the muddy ditch, currently trying to suck the buggy in. She pointed to the spot across from her. "Get over to the other side. Let's try to get this thing out of here." I crawled into the ditch, and we each took an opposing side of the buggy. Knee-deep, the viscous mud hissed and slapped against our calves, making it hard to get purchase on the ground. "Push it from that side a bit more," Daedalus said with strain in her voice. She was trying to put her whole back into trying to pry the buggy loose. I leaned sideways in the mud and pushed with my entire weight against the stuck tire. "Push, push, push!" she encouraged as I groaned through my grit teeth, pressing the buggy towards her as hard as I could to right the vehicle. I could see her bending down into the muck to scrabble away at the dirt and the debris caught on the underside. Something clicked and whined behind me, up from the roadside. I had been alive long enough to recognize the sound of a gun pointed at me. "Get out of the mud and onto the road," a voice said behind us. Daedalus froze, eyes darting up and over my shoulder. Her hands lifted off the buggy, letting it sink back down into the mud. She gave me a look that seemed like she wanted me to comply, so I let go of the buggy and stepped out of the mud to face the people pointing a gun at my back. A tall blonde with a mane of curly hair stood at the lip of the roadside, hands in the pockets of her oxblood leather jacket. She was flanked on either side by two men pointing guns at Daedalus and I. Our eyes met across the lip of the ditch, and the woman's dead eyes and frowning, doll-like lips gave me the impression that she was bored by all of it. "Daedalus," the blonde nodded a sterile greeting to the older woman. "Kim," Daedalus responded with a flat affect to her tone, subtly squaring her shoulders. "Long way out from Malibu. What brings you out all this way?" Mention of Malibu made my heart rate rise a small tick. My eyes searched the woman and her two hired guns for any recognizable signs of affiliation. Kim's tanned arms were clean, no sign of tattoos. The men wore indistinct tracksuits, their sidearms generic. Kim pulled her sleek gloved hands out of her pockets and gestured around the dusty road. "Oh, not doing too much, just seeing what you have going on out here. Quite a lucrative business, lithium. I don't recall you mentioning that when we planned on bringing people out here." "Why would I?" Daedalus gave her a bemused tilt of her head. "That never included informing you how we were powering salvation. In all honesty, you didn't seem to give a crap about the city or the people until this junction." "Well, see, therein lies the nature of the problem. Some people would call that a lie of omission." Kim looked at us over like a wealthy woman picking over a litter of unruly puppies. She gnawed on the rounded end of her sunglasses absently. "Some would even call that a bad faith agreement." "I fail to see it that way," Daedalus responded, jaw taut. "It is a failure for sure," Kim said, sounding like her patience was wearing thin. "The fact of the matter is that you failed to mention that you, and your off-grid halfway home, is currently squatting on billions of dollars of lithium that belongs to the United States government." "Never knew you to be much of an admirer of Uncle Sam," Daedalus teased. "Bit of a departure, don't you think?" "Strange bedfellows," Kim said, gesturing dismissively with her sunglasses. The sun blazed down on us as we stood knee-deep in unidentified industrial runoff. I could feel the mud drying in the sun and cracking along my arms and thighs. I was starting to feel as if I shouldn't be here for any of this. "Let's go, get him in the truck," Kim said, gesturing her chin towards the armed men accompanying her. They came down the ravine, yanking me out of the mud. As they pulled me up the slope, my feet kicked up rocks and dust. I could see Kim wave away the dust as we passed her, trying to get a better look at me. Her body language gave the energy of both the big game hunter and the cat. "Hold on," Kim said, and the man paused in front of her. Kim leaned in and took me in with her enormous feline eyes. They were hazel gold, much like the honeyed color of her hair. It made her look like an endangered but beautiful natural-born predator, something that you'd see stuffed in a museum where people could stare, comforted by the separation of death and a pane of glass. Yet, here she was, alive and thriving in the wild. I strained in the grip of the man behind me, wondering if spitting in Kim's face was enough of a distraction to grab either of their guns. Kim must have sensed the plot building in my eyes because she took hold of my muddy jaw and squeezed. "You're Lafayette's girl, aren't you?" I tried to pull my jaw out of her grasp, but she held me fast with a pinch of her long, manicured nails. "I don't know who that is, but I know who you are," Kim said, an unreadable type of pleasure making her pupils go wide. "Sunny Joon, you're the little pop star they've been looking for in the news. Man, your record label's going to be so grateful when I bring you back. Lafayette, too." My heart began to drum against my chest. Lafayette was supposed to be dead, like Maxim. If he was still alive, that meant that I had far more important things to worry about besides my record label. I looked over her shoulder at Daedalus, who was being held at gunpoint. My eyes slid back to Kim's, locked in on mine. "I think you have me mixed up with someone else." Kim reached out her hand to me, her elegant fingertips brushing up my jaw to where it connected to my neck. They slipped around my muddy hair. Her dilated black pupils held me mesmerized, unprepared for when her fingers tightened around my hair. She yanked down on my braids, pins flying out painfully as she clasped the ends of my hair between her cupped hands and peeked inside. She laughed, and my heart sank, knowing that the jig was up. Kim tossed my plate over my shoulder. "How many glow-in-the-dark runaway pop stars do you think we have running around the Inland Empire?" "I said you made a mistake," I ground out. "Let me and Daedalus go." Kim took my face in her hand as I looked up, forced to meet her eye level by the grip of her hand on my jaw. She stared into my face like I was something that delighted her, a new toy to play with. She leaned over, too close for comfort, near my face. "You smell like shit." My jaw tightened, making a mental note to clock her in her disrespectful face when Daedalus and I were in less clear and present danger. "It's sulfur."